Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and let's talk about the coronavirus. Let's talk about what is acceptable to say about it and by whom, and where these restrictions are ultimately coming from. Well, we've known it for a long time. Establishment type social media outlets like Facebook, Twitter, even Instagram, all these things are really beholden to the state, the government, whether it be the United States government or, as we've talked about, the Chinese government, where information is even more restricted from the general populace than what we have now. And a lot of people want to say, well, information is not restricted here. Yes, it is. And one of the prime examples that we can look at right now is how Zero Hedge was treated for circulating an article, which was really an aggregate article of the possibility that the coronavirus was in fact a bioweapon, right? From this lab that's in Wuhan, that checks a lot of the boxes, correct? So they get banned by Twitter. But now the Daily Mail and others are totally, reporting the same thing. Their accounts aren't being suspended. They're asking the same questions. And now to control information further, which is I think is dangerous because we already are in a really big situation where we're dealing with a state that is so dishonest, that has so many human rights abuses right in front of our faces, and we've generally ignored it as a population. And because of it, they're suffering and they're unarmed. And we don't really know what's going on out there. And I'm going to speak to some of the specific disinformation, specifically a post a lot of people have sent me from Reddit, from a military intelligence officer. I mean, people are writing fan fiction now on this. Or is it purposeful disinfo? But we'll get to that later. To muddy the waters, to further censor things. The World Health Organization has now had secretive talks, with Google, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, Salesforce, many others, about coronavirus and what is acceptable and what is misinformation. And this should alarm everybody. Everybody. Why wouldn't you be alarmed about this? Because now we're in a position where no matter who posts what, if it's not from an established authoritative source, that person could be suspended, that person could just be cut off, their account terminated, and that's where we're at. And I've been really careful with this because I'm not sure what I believe outside of the fact I think it's totally been taken advantage of, and now all these people that are under a martial law, well, let me tell you something. I think this quarantine and people are being disappeared. Remember, they said 4 to 5 million people just totally disappeared from the city. A lot of people are saying, well, those are the dead bodies, Jason. Well, are those the dead bodies from coronavirus? Did it really spread that far that people didn't have cell phones in tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of those cases? Or did they quietly round up people as this quarantine was going on that were undesirables first? I don't know what, but I'm going to tell you this, okay? Anybody that's really spoken out, or it's suspicious to me when people that speak out, such as that doctor, all of a sudden end up dead, right? And he's saying, basically, it's hard to believe what he says either. But now we have the director of the Wuhan hospital, one of these giant hospitals they set up. He's died as well, okay? And everything's for the state, by the way. But meanwhile, we now have little robots going through the street spraying God knows what. I mean, this really does remind me of the human experimentation that went on in this country, all right, openly, where they sprayed cadmium sulfate on human beings. And in some cases, they went through urban areas outside of cities, or in cities, in the poor areas, and actually blew, stuff out from under cars in our country, without people realizing it. Now, look, I'm going to have Shepard Ambellis on sometime. I'm not telling you that, everything here I agree with at all, but he's got a lot of raw footage, and I would be remiss if you didn't check out his stuff. I'm not panicking, but, he seems to think this is a lot more serious. I think that, again, they're beta testing how they can control a population. Okay? Whether or not, it's as lethal as people think it is, or it's really, again, just a hype around a certain type of flu that really does just only attack the elderly. And again, they're using this to strike upon people, an unarmed populace. So this is the big post that's been, voted up and everybody's sharing. I read through it. Let's talk about it for a second. There are a ton of holes in this thing. All right. So for those that don't know, this is a post that states that an insider, a military intelligence officer, reveals that there is no real coronavirus outbreak, and that what is happening is they had made a bioagent to spray the Hong Kong protesters and try to make them more docile. Okay? And at first it worked. He's saying it worked. Well, I don't know that that's the case. And then he said they started having a reaction where their insides just basically melted. Okay? Now, throughout this whole thing, the dramatic part at the end is that he's doing this because his son's been affected and that the government masks they gave his child didn't work. Only the one for him and his wife worked. It's a very contrived story. He talks about puking. He didn't want to give himself away. So I'm just like, at any level, there's a lot of disinfo in there. And I really feel like it's now people like joking about this and seeing how many posts they can get and trolling. Okay? But then you do have a lot of purposeful disinfo. What, again, we need to be focusing on is the quarantining of this population and what's really happening. Now, let's say it is, as now being reported, some type of bioweapon that escapes. Is it going to attack Asian genetics more? I think, we haven't seen an outbreak in any other country. And listen, we're not the only one doing business in China, right? And people can say it's not being reported or it's in this country and, they've successfully quarantined it. I don't know that that's the case. So if it is real and it is a bioweapon and it is genetically aimed at these people, now we have to be careful to see how other nation states use this, because there is the possibility that it is just going to keep, ravaging their economy in Wuhan. But again, 1.2 billion people? I don't know. What do you think? Do you think this is that opportunity that a state that's already implemented a social credit score, by the way, mentioned in the fan fiction, the military intelligence Reddit post, there's a lot of things that, they played upon that are actually true. Again, the bioweapons lab in Wuhan, okay? But there was another point where he said basically the reason he threw up was because they were just using all the sick people to burn all the bodies in this sick and twisted, progression. And that there's like a burn room there. And of course, everybody's talking about I think it's the sulfur oxide readings and the possibility that they are burning bodies. I'm not saying that that's not happening, but we don't know anything about anybody being really infected on these mass levels. And I'm sorry, I think it would be very, very difficult for some of these citizens not to have snuck something crazy out at this point. We're weeks into this. And don't get me wrong, they have a crazy lockdown on society. And, there's talks of rural areas, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm not buying the hype, guys. And I think, again, we have to talk about the quarantines. We have to be wary of that. We have to talk about human rights. And we have to talk about the cooperation of our so-called constitutional republic, our democracy that's worked hand in hand with these people to suppress information. And now, again, you have the World Health Organization basically saying, look, we need to talk, everybody. Yo, Google's terrible. Let me do something for you. So I'm gonna say screaming Chinese citizen. I spelled that wrong, didn't I? No, I think I got it. Okay, so now I want to go images. Now look at this. You see this? Why in the world? Look at the first images here. Screaming Chinese citizen. Now let's go to like Yahoo. Remember Yahoo back in the day before Google? That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a 15-year not search relevant at all. Let's just go cancel. Let's see. Screaming Chinese citizen. At least I have Asians. I mean, it's still pretty repressed, but I mean, again, I don't have Trump everywhere. You know, I have marching, I have this. This isn't the best, but it's better than Google. Look how controlled your search engines already are. Let's type in screaming Chinese citizen coronavirus. Okay. So this right here, this is Yahoo. Again, it's not even the second biggest search engine because the second biggest search engine is YouTube. But now we're going to type it in here. Corona. And in this case, I mean, it's a little bit better, but it's not great either. It's a little bit better than the one I was just doing. You're not seeing as many, you don't see Trump everywhere. But it's not good. I mean, it's like, hey, peace, everything's okay. Everything's not okay when you're putting people in metal boxes. That how could you diagnose on the spot? Okay? That's all I'm saying. Guys, if you want to support me, I am going over to D.C. next week. I'm probably going to go Sunday night and maybe stay till Wednesday. We'll see how high we can actually get the GoFundMe, $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. $9.99 a month. It gets you at least 5 a week, 5 exclusives like this one where I get into Bayer and Monsanto basically being beaten by a peach farmer, guys. That's right. Check it out. Jury awards $265 million to Bader Farms in lawsuit against Bayer, which basically absorbed Monsanto into $60 billion deals. That and many more exclusives, $9.99 a month. You get at least 20 exclusives a month, and then you get everybody else's content. It's really cool. You hit endorse Jason Burmis. We're going to send it right in. You can sign up for free, by the way, and I'm posting other things there that you can also check out for free. You can sign up for free and then just follow me. Let's get it to 2,000 followers. That costs you absolutely nothing. That also helps me and supports me. And guys, check out all my stuff 3 to 7 times a day. Go watch my interview with Robbie Martin about his sister's lawsuit against the state of Georgia for refusing to sign that anti-BDS pledge. It's really great stuff. Go check it out. Action for Assange, you got like one more day to make a video. Send it over their way in this link, talking about Julian Assange, talking about free speech, and helping everybody because the extradition's coming. That's why I'm going down to D.C. It's really important. Make that video, upload it to this link right there, and then people will take action. Start talking to people. Real important issues, guys. We cover them every single day, and I am, in fact, also a documentary filmmaker. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to Find, and Shade the Motion Picture are available for free right here, right now in the playlist section. I love you guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the flip side.